皆さん、また来てくださってありがとうございます。こちらはマンハッタンニューヨークでございます。今日はね、また RFK さんを乗っけてみようと思うんですね。トランプさんも彼のことを、すごく常識的で素晴らしいって言ってるんですけど、RFK さんもそれに対して、私はそういうコメントに対してすごく誇りに思うみたいな感じにおっしゃってるんですね。これが実際はリベラルなんですよ。その個人攻撃をするのがリベラルじゃないんですね。で、今の本当に左翼の手段を選ばないやり方っていうのがもう気持ち悪くて仕方がないんですね、私。で、初めて RFK さん出てきて、もう左翼メディアもバイデンももう本当に同じ民主党でありながら全く無視で、絶対ディベートもさせないんですよね。で、それっていうのがやっぱり、この人が本物だっていうことが出てきちゃうと、この偽物の悪徳業者の詐欺師軍団がバレてしまうっていうことなんですよね。で、私、本来ならば、この人が出てきた途端に民主党が全部この人をしたら、私ね、これトランプ勝てるかなって、すごく思ったんですね。なぜかっていうと、私もこの方のいろんなビデオを見て、ぐらっと来たんですよ。あれ、ひょっとしてこの人、ホワイトハウスにいてほしいかもって思ったんですよ。で、コメント、その動画のコメントを見ると、多くのトランプサポーターが、この人に入れるって言い出してるんですよね。で、もちろん、今のところ彼がバイデンさんを破って上がれるっていう見込みがないんですよ。なぜかっていうと、ディベートをまずさせないっていうことと、メディアがこの人を言論封殺してるんですね。させてるんですね。だから本当にこの人が勝てる候補として上がってくることがないんですよ。でも私の夢としては、この人とトランプさんのディベートをすっごく見たいんですよ。本質のディベートになると思うんですね。なんか言ってみれば、モハメッド・アリとマイク・タイソンが最強の頃のマッチを見るみたいな感じ。伊藤みどりさんと浅田真央ちゃんじゃないですけど、天才、めったに出てこない天才同士のデスマッチ的な感じがするんですよ。だから、本当に、本物の民主主義のやりとり、バトルが見れるっていう感じがするんですね。トランプさんも、ヒラリーとかバイデンじゃなかったら、もっと、革新的な政策をガンガン RFK と戦わせると思うんですよ。それがすごく見たくって、やっぱりだから多くの人が民主党から共和党にすごくたくさん移ったと思うんですね。で、私はニューヨークにいるからずっとニューヨークのリベラルっていうところで、私の半分の人生を過ごしてきたから、そういう感じで自分もリベラルなんだっていう感じだったんですけど、もう今はそのリベラルっていうのが、逆転して共和党の言っている論理的で常識的で思いやりがあるというか民主主義的なやり方と、自称リベラルって言ってる民主党がすごく排他的で独裁的で支配者的な考えで、そういうのに嫌気がさした民主党員の人や元リベラルの人たちが共和党になったって。そこにこの人が出てきて、ちょっと待ってよ、俺こっちだわっていう、戻りかけてるっていうか、この人すごいっていう感じになってるんですね。だから、もちろんトランプさんがやった革新的なことは、ひょっとしたら RFK さんじゃできなかったと思うんですよ。民主党ですから。多分阻止されたと思うんですね。やっぱりトランプさんと RK を見たいんですよ。トランプさんとバイデンだったら確実にトランプさんの勝ちだから、絶対 MC がバイデンの擁護をするんですね、また。それがもう本当に見てられないんですよ。もう大人として。だから実際本当にバトルするんだったら RFK と、トランプと を見たいんですよね。だから本当になんとかもしこれを見てくださってる方がアメリカの市民権を持っているニューヨークじゃないところに住んでいらっしゃる方がいたとしたら、今インディペンデントにレジスターして登録、ニューヨークは無理だと思うんですけど、なんかちょっとね調べてみたんですよ。なんか誰かそのリパブリカンの人で、私はずっとリパブリカンだったんだけどRFK さんに入れますみたいに言ってた人がいて、そのコメントに対して、あなたリパブリカンなのにRFK できないからインディペンデントにレジスターしないとダメですよって言ってたんですね。で、そういうやり方があるんだと思って、だからこれをもし見てる方がいらっしゃったら、インディペンデントにレジスターしてプライマリーでバイデンじゃなくて RFK に投票して、で共和党のプライマリーでトランプさんに投票するっていうことができると思います。ぜひやってください。ということで、皆さんも RFK さんちょっと見てください。本当にトランプさんもしくは RFK さん、この2人が党のトップに立てば世界は変わりますということで、今日は、2つ RFK さんの政策のインタビューのうち2つを挙げてみたいと思います。どうぞ。
You say that you're a Democrat, but you're getting a lot of support from a lot of leading voices on the right, like Steve Bannon, Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, former President Donald Trump. Many Democrats fear that you're a spoiler in the race, that you will damage President Biden in the primary and grease the skids for former President Trump to return to the Oval Office. This week, former President Trump said about you, Kennedy is smart and he's a common sense guy. What kind of man do you think Donald Trump is?
Well, here's what I'm not going to do in this race. I'm not going to attack other people personally. I don't think it's good for our country. And I think, what I'm trying to do in this race is bring people together, is to try to bridge the divide between Americans. And guess what? When my dad died and we took this train ride from, this 7.5-hour train ride that was supposed to be 2 hours, I was with him when he died in Los Angeles, and then we brought his body. It was a 2.5-hour ride, but it took 7.5 hours because there were 2.5 million people on that train track. And it was a cross-section of America, and all of the major urban stations in Trenton, Newark, Wilmington, and Baltimore. There were black Americans singing Battle Hymn of the Republic. There were whites in the rural areas who are holding up signs, "Goodbye, Bobby," "Pray for us, Bobby," American flags, standing, saluting. He was able to bridge the divide among people who would otherwise be Republican, but wanted somebody who was common sense, who was able to appeal to their idealism, who was able to find the hero in each of them, who was able to get them to transcend narrow self-interest. And so I'm proud that President Trump likes me, even though I don't agree with him on most of his issues. Because I don't want to alienate people. I want to bring people together. I'm proud that all these people like me and that I have independent supporters and Democratic supporters, and that I'm able to bring a lot of people. Every Democrat says, "I want to end the polarization." But how do you do that without talking to people who don't agree with you? How do you do that without appealing to people? My purpose is to find the issues, the values that we have in common, rather than, focus on the issues and the personalities that keep us all apart.
As a lifelong Democrat, as you just said very passionately, will you pledge to support whoever the Democratic nominee is, whoever it is, whether it's you, whether it's President Biden?
Oh, of course I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to
do that.
No, of course I'm not.
So if you don't get the nomination, you won't support President Biden?
I don't know what I'll do. Let's see let's see what happens in this campaign. Let's see, if people are living up to Democratic values and having debates and having discussions and, talking to each other. But I'm not going to buy.
And if you feel that's not happening, would you then support a Republican or run as an independent?
My plan is to win this election, and I don't have a plan B.
Okay.
Hello, I'm the son of Mexican immigrants and the husband of a Honduran immigrant, and so my question is on immigration. With Congress unable to reach an agreement on comprehensive immigration reform in decades, what is your plan to address immigration?
Yeah, I think, and thank you, Josue. Is it Josue? Okay, I don't think that it's going to be possible to get an immigration reform package through Congress until we seal the border, because we've got now in the last 3 years, 7 million people have come across the border illegally, and the most disturbing part of me is I witnessed the humanitarian crisis, the cruelty to these people who are being brought to the border. They're being exploited, they're being extorted, they're being raped, they're being robbed. The cartels are now running U.S. immigration policy, and everybody knows that. There have been 9, we were told by the Border Patrol, there have been 9 suicides of Border Patrolmen in the last year because they're so demoralized about what's happening. They are literally, it took me 3 days at the border to understand what's happening. The first night I watched, I got there at 2 o'clock in the morning, stayed there until about 4, and I watched just hundreds and hundreds of people coming across. The first group was about 60 African men from West Africa, mainly from Cameroon. I thought I was going to see Central Americans and, Guatemalans and Salvadorians, but I didn't. We only saw, in the whole night, there was only 2 families from Latin America, one from Colombia and one from Peru, and all of them had been brutalized and every penny taken away from them. The rest of them were from Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Tibet, Nepal, Pakistan, and many, many from China. The cartels are now advertising all over the world that there's an open border, and they are bringing people in. They give them videos about exactly what to do. They fly to Mexico. They're given visas there, internal visas in Mexico. They go from Mexico City on a plane to Mexicali. They're loaded on fleets of buses and then brought to the border. They cross. The only role of the Border Patrol is to stamp them in and check if they have a criminal record. If they don't, they are brought to the airport and they are given a ticket to any city in the United States that they want to go to.
Well, they have to demonstrate need and apply for asylum.
They're given a court date. And the court date is a cursory court date. It's like an arraignment. And then their real court date, which they're not going to show up to, is 7 years later. So they're essentially given a 7-year pass to stay in this country.
So how would you seal the border?
Well, you know what? It's not that hard. Because
how would you do it?
I would do it. I mean, there's a number of things that you have to do. I was against Trump's wall, but having seen it down there, I see that you were required to give a physical barrier during certain, not all the way 2,200 miles from San Diego to Brownsville, Texas, but certain highly densely populated areas, you need a physical barrier. But in the hinterlands, in the wilderness areas, you can use sensors like they do in Israel, the ground sensors and towers.
There's sensors of AI breakthroughs too, but you would resume the building of Trump's border wall?
Well, a lot of it now has been rebuilt. Mayorkas, who's the DHS secretary, recognized that the gaps in that wall, that we shouldn't have left them. But it's not so much the wall, it's the other censoring devices that were all ripped up. Which I'm very embarrassed to say by this administration, by the Democratic administration. And also the policies were changed so that the presumption is everybody gets in. And I witnessed it myself. And we can't have that.
Everybody's not getting in.
Yes, everybody gets in.
There are crowds of people waiting to try and apply through the new app that the Biden administration has set up. They're setting up...
As for legal immigration.
Oh, you're talking about illegal immigration.
I'm talking illegal immigration. Everybody gets in. I watched it. 7 million people have come in. Just the one little section I was at in Yuma, there's 350,000 people came here before. But I met with the Yuma authorities. I met with the hospitals. I met with the centers that take care of the immigrants who are beleaguered. I met with the Border Patrol and the sheriff, and everybody agreed it could be stopped. It could be wound down to what it was before this administration, which was about 25 people a day, which is not a big problem. But now it's 300 to 800 a day. And that, no nation can survive if they can't protect their borders. As president, I will expand legal immigration. I will make it easier, particularly for workers, to come across on the H visas, and then and bring in and have an orderly system that benefits our country. Immigration is good for our country. This kind of immigration is unfair to everybody, and particularly to the immigrants that have been brought here. And then over the long term, the immigrants that have poured in from Latin America, a lot of them are coming up because of policies, wrongful policies that the U.S. has had, the drug wars, the austerity programs, the support of juntas, the war on the poor that we've maintained for so many years, and we need to change those policies as well.